Hello and welcome. My name is Meg, and today I want to talk about more of the 2025 releases that I am most looking forward to. Authors continue to pump out the announcements for 2025 releases, and I'm going to talk to you about the ones that I'm most excited about. I will likely make another one of these videos maybe mid to late August for the last few months of the year as they just continue to announce more and more amazing sounding books. Let's jump right into what's coming out in May. First up is The Starving Saints. I don't really know how to describe this, but I have seen it described as like a medieval fever dream. There are three women trapped in a besieged castle, along with like all the other people trapped. And apparently the castle is about to run out of supplies, food, water, I don't know, whatever they need. And something strange happens and everyone starts to descend into a bit of madness. I don't know, it just sounds really weird, but the cover looks wild, and I will always be drawn in by a cover, so super excited for that one. Next up is The Memory Collectors by Dita Messer. This is about four strangers who have the opportunity to go back in time for 1 hour to revisit a pivotal moment from their past. Now, they end up getting stuck, and I don't know if that's like on purpose, they overstay their welcome, or something strange happens, but this is giving a bit like sci-fi, a bit mystery, a bit genfic, like confronting your past, but literally. Next in May is Our Last Wild Days. When a girl from a local family of outcasts is found dead in the bayou, no one really pushes back when the police determine that she may have died at her own hand or wants to investigate further. Only her long estranged friend, Loyal May, who is back in town only to care for her ailing mother, seems to think that something else might be at play here, and Loyal starts to look into it. I love a bayou. I love a swampy setting. I think that this sounds really fantastic, and the early reviews are great. I'm really looking forward to this one. I love a Southern Gothic. Okay, this title's a bit of a mouthful, so I'm going to read it so I don't miss any of the parts of it. It is called The Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association. It is by Caitlin Rozakis, who wrote Dreadful. Also on my TBR, haven't read it yet. Don't tell anybody. After kindergartner Arya is bitten by a werewolf, her parents are sort of plunged into this world of magical schools and just magic in general. This story seems to focus on her mother, Vivian, and Vivian's experience at PTA meetings with pixies and sirens and weird talent shows, I don't know, hellhounds in the halls, odd things like that. Also, there seems to be a prophecy maybe about Arya, and she's not really into that. Sounds interesting, sounds neat. As you can see, the cover is like very intriguing, and I was definitely drawn in by that cover for sure. The little cupcake and a stack of books will always get me. But I've heard great things about Caitlin Rozakis. Like I said, I do have another one of her books, so this just really spoke to me. Next is My Father Always Finds Corpses by Lee Hollis. That is very hard to say. First, I want to note that Lee Hollis is the pen name for Rick Kopp. Rick has written for the Golden Girls and like several other Hollywood projects. So that was enough to sell me right there. But we have a father-daughter duo, kind of estranged actually, who are thrown back together to investigate a murder when it hits very close to home. The daughter's boyfriend is found bludgeoned to death, I believe, in his apartment. And so the case begins. When the Devil Sing by Zan Kerr is another Southern Gothic described as horror, fantasy, fairy tale, fever dream, kind of insanity set in rural southern Georgia, so I could not pass that up. Local teen Dawson goes missing, and the only thing he leaves behind is like some blood spatter in his room 4, at this local financially unstable motel owned by Neera Singh's family. Now, these types of disappearances are not exactly uncommon in Neera's rural, poor area, but somehow she assembles this ragtag group of people, a local judge's son who is also like moonlighting as a true crime podcaster, the son of the county's richest man, or the region's richest man, I believe, and the local hitman's daughter. They all sort of come together to try and solve this, but what they discover is actually something quite sinister. Sounds really, really good to me. Now into June, we have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is one of those time jumpy, we're following 3 different women in 3 different time periods who seem to have very different lives, but perhaps all come from a similar past and have a similar future, perhaps. And there's vampires, so like, I don't know, I'm in. The 7-Year Itch is book 2 in, I believe it's called the Mountain Men Matchmaker series. I do have book 1, which is 9-month contract. I have not read it yet, but I do intend to start it hopefully before June 17th. In this story, it's a contemporary rom-com for sure, but I do think we have a bit of an enemies to lovers forced proximity situation here. Our male main character is looking for a date to his brother's destination tropical wedding, but his family is very meddlesome and they hack his dating profiles, making him sort of a pariah, and he misses out on any chance to meet someone before the wedding. When he arrives, he realizes he is forced to share a room with his mortal enemy, aka his future sister-in-law's best friend. It sounds like something I would really enjoy. The cover is extremely cute, just like the first book, and I really hope I can finish that one before June 17th when this one comes out, but I will definitely be pre-ordering it. I cannot resist the checkered sprayed edges. The Princess Kills Monsters is our last June book. This is by Rye Herman, and I honestly didn't even have to read the blurb to know that I wanted to pick this up. The cover completely pulled me in. It looks so fantastical. In this, though, we have a princess who has kind of like mediocre powers. There is a talking lion, there's some adventure. She is supposed to marry somebody she doesn't want to marry, which the whole thing to me sounds very T. Kingfisher with like these animal sidekicks and a quest and probably like a burly, handsome man that also joins them. So I think this is going to be in that same vein of sort of a fantasy of somewhat epic proportions, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. Some humor, some fun, some adventure, maybe some love. I don't know. July starts off with Overruled by Lana Ferguson. Now, I did apply for an ARC of this and I was denied. So I won't have any early access to it for you, but I can tell you what I know of it right now. Two divorce attorneys seem to have this friends with benefits style arrangement, but things get complicated when they're on opposing sides of the same case. They get weird, or maybe good, or I don't know. It looks cute. It seems like a very interesting dynamic, which I'm looking forward to exploring more when I receive my regular old-fashioned release day coffee. Another July release is The Irresistible Urge to Fall in Love with Your Enemy by Bridget Knightley. This is fantasy, obviously enemies to lovers style, romance, fantasy, adventure style novel. It's described as a slow burn between a sort of brainy healer and a gentleman assassin. Our male main character is suffering from an odd illness, and the only person that can help him is a do-gooder healer from an enemy order. She's in desperate need of funds to heal, and he is willing to pay for the treatments. So an arrangement is set, and I think things progress from there. They are teaming up at a point to investigate this odd plague that has come to their community. And I don't know, it just sounds interesting. The cover's really cute. It drew me in 100%, of course, they always do. And I don't know, it just sounds good. Next up is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This cover is divine. I absolutely love it. I have not read The Spell Shop yet, but it's also on the list. I'm going to say that 1,000 times today. I love a cozy, sweet, standalone, fantasy, fairy-esque, magical little story, and this seems to fit the bill exactly. Main character Turla has been turned into a wooden statue after breaking a magical law. In a fit of loneliness, she decides to turn her spider plant sentient, and that is a big no-no. After some time, she wakes up on this island that is absolutely covered in hundreds of greenhouses, and the only other person there is a sort of grumpy gardener. Now, to her surprise, he offers to clothe her, house her, and maybe feed her honey cakes until she can figure out how to get back home, but she doesn't want to go home. Something is altering the magic of the greenhouses, and she feels the call to help. So I don't know, it sounds really good. It sounds kind of cozy, low stakes, sweet, but there is something to fight for. And I don't know, maybe I'm hoping for a little bit of a romance between Turla and this gardener. Another July release is The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is another of those 3 women, 3 different eras, gothic horror. I'm having a hard time getting my head around exactly what this is about or developing my own summary for it, but it does sound quite good. Now, it's witchy, it's mysterious. There is a link between all 3 women, and one of them does have this sort of obsessive nature about unraveling the story that does affect all 3. So it sounds good to me. It's very, very intriguing premise, and I will definitely pick it up. And finally, in July, The Library at Hellbore by Cassandra Call. This sounds wild. This is like a dark academia horror fantasy surrounding a magical school, an elite magical school for like gods and dangerous monsters. Our main character, Alessa, is kidnapped and kind of forced into the school. Unfortunately, on graduation day, the entire faculty goes absolutely mad in a bloodthirsty rage and starts eating the students. Alessa and, like, I don't know, a small group of her companions are able to hole up in the library, but they have to sacrifice someone every day or the faculty will break down the door and get all of them. I don't know, like, it sounds wild and weird and gross and gritty, and I'm so in. In August, we have Zom Rom-Com by Olivia Dade. Now, the cover, obviously, the cover and the title for sure got me on this one. It looks really cute. What we have here is Edie, our female main character, and it seems like we live in a world where maybe zombies are not a part of the everyday life, but they're there. They're in the back of your mind, right? The zombies are here. So the zombies have breached, I don't know, the wall, the zone that they're not allowed to be in. And Edie is a sweetheart and she wants to save her quiet, kind seeming neighbor, but he ends up saving her. And I think he kind of puts her away in his like underground bunker that he has, but that doesn't sit right with Edie because she wants to help people. And for some reason, her neighbor has this uber protective streak when it comes to her. So he's not going to let her go without him. And I think they probably have all sorts of adventures, fighting zombies, and it just sounds like a good time. The Island of Lost Things by Emma Slowly. The cover, again, the cover completely drew me in. What is this madness? This is so wild. It's so weird. It looks amazing. This is a story about two zookeepers at the last zoo in the world. The zoo is on an island. The island is Alcatraz. I don't know. Main character Camille spends her day caring for the animals that are there. Jaguars, chimpanzees, kind of a regular sounding zoo, right? One day, a French zookeeper named Sailor arrives and she starts telling Camille about this mysterious place where animals roam free in the wild. And she seems like not a troublemaker, but a person who sort of pushes back against the authority. And I think Camille is going to have to make some decisions about whether she wants to follow Sailor, who she's become very sort of enthralled by, or if she's going to stay the rule follower that she's always been. It sounds interesting. I cannot get over the cover, honestly. Look, I could just see the cover and probably just go from there with it. Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher is coming out August 19th, and I just want to say I'm lucky enough to have an arc of this. I have not read it yet. I want to wait until a little bit closer to release date, but I will have an early review of it. This is the first arc I have ever been approved for, and it was T. Kingfisher, and it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like the best thing to happen to me that week. I think I was also having a really down week, and it was something that I absolutely needed. So this book is going to just hold a special place for me for forever. This is a Snow White reimagining, and in pure T. Kingfisher fashion, this is not about Snow White exactly. Our main character is a healer who specializes in poisons, I believe, and she is hired by the king to help save his ailing daughter Snow, who is absolutely dying. Now, the healer, I think, has to go on a quest or adventure. There is a grumbly guard, a narcissistic cat that also feature. So this is very like T. Kingfisher Gold. We have our sort of stern, solemn man character who will probably be an absolute cinnamon roll at the end of the day, and a weird animal sidekick. I am so here for it. The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas is set in 18th century Mexico during the time of a plague. Fleeing the plague, Alba, her wealthy family, and her fiance take refuge in a mine. Thinking they're now safe, a new horror begins to emerge when Alba is sleepwalking and hallucinating and having like violent outbursts. So it seems like she's possessed. She can feel that something's off. There's something like cold and sinister and angry that she can feel just under her skin. There's also a forbidden love element with her fiance's cousin. I don't know. Sounds really interesting. Finally, we're wrapping up August with The Marigold Cottage Murder Collective by Joe Nichols. This is about a small beach community, I believe set in Santa Barbara. and Miss B is the landlord. Now, she only rents cottages to people that she cares about, or maybe people that like pull at her heartstrings. It seems to be very intentional rentals when it comes to Miss B. Everything is sort of going along to get along until Anthony, an ex-con, moves in. And 3 weeks later, a body is found in the streets of their quiet community. Now, Anthony is arrested, but Mrs. B does not believe that he's done anything wrong. So she goes to the police station and instead confesses to have committing the crime herself. With the residents of the community now completely at a loss for what to do, they begin investigating to save their landlady. And I don't know, it sounds really interesting to me. I love a good murder mystery and I love kind of like an ensemble cast. And these residents sound like an odd little eclectic group of people that'll be just perfect. In September, we're starting off with By the Horns by Ruby Dixon. This is book 2 in her series. I think it's called like the Artifactual Guild. And we are, in fact, back at the Artifactual Guild, this time with Gwenna. I don't really know what's going on here. Gwenna is like maybe a necromancer, which also I think is illegal. And she may have had a one-night stand with Raptor and now Raptor wants more, but she's not interested. I don't know. I don't really need to know. I really enjoyed the first book. The second book looks great. I love the colors, love the cover. There's going to be great sprayed edges again. And I don't know, it's just a really good time. Now, 2 big name authors for me are releasing books 1 of new series in September. I really hope they aren't touring at the same time because I'm dying to see both of them. First up is Tourist Season with Brid Weaver. This is going to be book 1 in what I think is called the Cape Carnage series. We have a main character who is a gardener, and she uses the oddest fertilizer. She lives in a touristy little community by the beach, and when tourists don't act right, she gets rid of them. We have Nolan, who's not your average tourist, and he might be a serial revenge taker, just like Harper, our gardener. And yeah, so that happens. And I believe they are being blackmailed or at least being hunted by a sort of amateur true crime podcaster type person. I don't know. I don't really need to know a lot about it. The cover is cute. I love Bryn Weaver. I really enjoyed the Ruinous Love trilogy, which was Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lark, and Scythe and Sparrow. I also was lucky enough to meet her in February of this year at an event for the final book in that trilogy. And I don't know, something about that experience just made me feel like I will buy anything she puts out. She's an absolute gem. I enjoy her writing style, and I'm sure this will be no exception. The other author is Lila Sage. I did very much enjoy her Rebel Blue Ranch series. Everything but the last book was really great for me. The last book was just okay. Everything else I absolutely loved. And I had the opportunity to meet her back in April, but it fell through and I was a little bit devastated. So I am hoping she will tour for this book as well. But I'm, of course, talking about Soul Searching. And is it just me or does the female main character look just like Mariska Hargitay? Like, can we take a moment and just look at it? It looks like Mariska Hargitay with a nose ring, and I'm so into it. Anyway, this is a little bit of an escape for her. It is small town. However, there's a paranormal element. So our female main character is back in town, maybe after like a long absence or something. And I think everyone in town thinks she's a bit crazy because she's talking to herself a lot. But the thing is, it's the ghosts and they're sort of haunting her or trying to communicate through her. Then we have this guy who's new to town. He's an upholsterer and he is renting out the room over his shop. And he ends up renting it out to her. And then, like, you know, stuff happens and it'll be really cute and sweet. And this cover is so, I don't know, there's something like so sweet, but also you get like that paranormal kind of gritty, almost like Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibe. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I cannot wait for this one. I don't have anything for early October, but late October sees a few very interesting releases. First up would be King Sorrow by Joe Hill. I believe this is his first full-length novel in 9 years. We have our main character who is a college student, Arthur, and he gets into a bit of a bind with a local drug dealer when he is cornered into stealing rare books for said drug dealer. Now, somehow he forms this ragtag group of friends who, in an effort to help Arthur out of this, decide to use a journal from the library to summon a dragon. I guess a dragon to like fight this battle. I don't know. And like I think it works. I think they summon a dragon. As you can see from the cover, that kind of looks like a fiery made of fire dragon, dragon made of fire. I do enjoy Joe Hill. I have loved almost everything by Joe Hill with the exception of The Firemen, which I liked the first 3 quarters of. That's a different story for a different day. This looks great. I am so excited for this. I'll probably do the audio because he usually has great narrators, but can't wait. Next is, I think, a super highly anticipated novel called Girl Dinner by Olivia Blake. And I believe our setting is a college campus, a sophomore who is joining a sorority or who has joined a sorority and is like going through the oddities of that. And then we have juxtaposed a professor who is coming back from maternity leave. She's kind of taken a downgrade in her career to elevate her professor husband, and she's just not feeling herself postpartum. These two characters are thrown together when the professor is asked to be the academic liaison to the sorority. And I think some bloody things happen. I don't know. It sounds weird and creepy and just a little bit like maybe under your skin crawly. And I am very into that. Next would be Diddley Squat the Farmer's Dog by Jeremy Clarkson. If you have not watched Clarkson's Farm on Amazon Prime TV, I don't know, I think you should. I would highly recommend it. It is not just nonsense and blowing up houses and making mistakes. There are some like very tender moments, there are some hard moments. I think it provides a really great insight into the struggles of being a farmer, specifically in England, the bureaucracy, the red tape, all of the hoops you have to jump through. It is an amazing series, and I believe season 5 has just started. Don't quote me. It might be season 4, it might be season 6. I don't know. However, we're talking about this book. And this is just a collection of stories from another year at the farm. I believe this is the 5th book in the series, Diddley Squat Farm, etc. Last up in October is Best Wishes from the Full Moon Coffee Shop. This is book 2, and it is set at Christmas time. More than that, I don't really know. I did very much enjoy book 1, and one of my favorites for sure from this spring. And there's giant talking cats. What more could you want than that? And the very last book on this list is coming out in November. It is called Snake Eater by T. Kingfisher. I've seen 2 covers. This is like the European cover. Fine, great, excited to see something by T. Kingfisher, right? But then I saw the cover available to me for pre-order, so I guess it's like the US edition, right? This looks incredible. I love it. I love the font. I don't know why, but it just feels like very mystical and magical, and I don't know, some weird magical adventure. Anyhow, obviously the bird, the snake, it looks incredible. So this is a very horror fantasy in the vein of T. Kingfisher. If you have read any of her work, she does this very beautiful balance of like horror, fantasy, throw in some humor. So a woman seeking a fresh start is moving into a house left to her by her aunt, but I believe it is in the US Southwest. So I'm thinking like Arizona, New Mexico, something like that. And she moves with her dog Copper. Like weird things are happening. And it turns out that maybe this is like a haunting spot for gods and malevolent spirits and stuff like that. And this one god has taken an interest in our main character, and he is called Snake Eater. So we have like some great side characters. She has a dog called Copper. She has this like old lady neighbor who I think kind of explains all of this paranormal stuff that's going on. And her name is Grandma Billy. And I'm certain there's going to be like some strapping, probably grouchy or grumbling male main character, sidekick, I don't know, assistant. And I just think it's going to be great. I am so thrilled with this cover. I immediately pre-ordered it as soon as I saw it. Also, I know this is not 2025, but I have it on good authority that she'll be releasing another book in March of 2026, and I'm already excited for that. All right, that is my part 2 of 2025 releases that I am most looking forward to. If I've missed any that you know of that sounds like something you like or something that maybe you think I would like, please leave it below in the comments. I would love to add more to this list. Like I said, I'm probably going to be making another one of these closer to end of summer. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.